Hi, I'm Nancy Outlaw with Human Resources, Organizational Learning, and Talent Development. And yes, like many of you, I am working from home. As you can see right here, I've got my home office set up in my house. In fact, about 80% of all Americans nationwide are now sheltering at home, and flexible work has become the new norm. And it's kind of nice. Lots of employees really like it for a number of reasons. Just a few, no commute to work, so we're saving money around gas and eating out. And a lot of employees like working in an environment of their own creation. For managers and supervisors, it can be another story. It can be a little daunting to manage remotely. Sometimes the belief that gets in the way is that you can't manage what you can't see. However, the leadership experts say that's not true. In fact, employees with the proper state of mind can work anywhere and produce great results, which is a great thing to remember. In fact, if they're motivated, they can be even more productive in a remote environment. So managers really need to nurture that state of mind. So you may be wondering, how do I do that? Well, let me first share 3 key leadership traits that the experts say are really needed to manage remotely. One is to be naturally proactive. The second one is to communicate strongly. That's a really, really important one that I've heard over and over is just crucial. And the third is to be comfortable with ambiguity, those things that you can't control. And that can definitely apply to a remote environment. So in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to share 5 recommendations from the experts that will help you successfully lead and engage remote teams. The first one is to have clear expectations, and I have that written up here behind me so that you can see it as well. This is especially important now that the rules of work have changed because we're now in a remote environment. So never leave your folks in the dark about projects and roles and deadlines and all those things that you're all responsible for. So some guidelines for creating those expectations include things like, if you have project work, make sure that you have a master plan created. And then to make sure that everybody who is assigned a task has a clear deadline. Also, make sure that the team agrees on some core hours where everybody is going to be available. That's really, really important with remote work. And then 4, inform the group whenever you're offline. So for example, my group makes sure that we always email each other when we're taking lunch or we're going to be offline for any reason. And then a final one is, if you decide that flexible work is okay, then let's say, for example, you want to take a couple of extra hours in the afternoon for a personal errand or whatever, that the agreement is that you make up that time later in the day. So that helps create clear expectations. The second tip is to check in frequently and regularly with your group and insist on some FaceTime. That's really important because your folks really need to connect with each other and they need to hear each other's voices and see each other's faces. So there's all kinds of video conferencing technology out there that you can use. Here at the county, we have Microsoft Teams, so you can use that. There's Skype, a lot of folks use that. So that's just to name a few. And hold virtual team meetings consistently and regularly. And in those meetings, make sure that everybody's reporting out 3 things. One, yes, whatever they did previously, yesterday's results, for example, and then whatever they're working on today, and then any obstacles that they may be foreseeing. And so that way, everybody knows where everybody stands and they can volunteer to support each other. The third tip is to communicate. So there it is again. Communicate, communicate, communicate. You're going to have to communicate 10 times more than you think you're going to have to about what you're doing and why you're doing it with your team. So there's really no such thing as over communication in a remote environment. Also, be a great listener and communicate trust and respect to your folks. Ask about their workload and their progress, but don't be a micromanager. And then fourthly, be available quickly and through multiple means of technology. So instant messaging, email, video conferencing, the phone, texting, whatever modes of communication that you and your group decide on. Because remote teams should be able to count on you to respond quickly to any kind of pressing concerns that they have, because you're not there in the office where they can knock on the door. And then finally, don't forget this one, camaraderie and team building. So, that doesn't, just because you're remote doesn't mean that you can just let that go by the wayside. It's another great way to keep your team connecting. So don't let those rituals of connection go by the wayside, like, remembering birthdays and work anniversaries and such things. And also make sure in your virtual team meetings that you're allowing time for personal discussion, water cooler talk, just anything to help foster those connections. So those are the 5 tips. So hopefully if you follow these, you will be on your way to fostering excellence among your virtual team. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.